doing it. We're doing it, we're doing it, we're doing it. Huh, I don't have anything quippy to say. Shocker. Sorry, representing for my heritage. No more self-love, back to self-deprecating, back to self-deprecating. Hey guys, welcome back to The Hideaway. It's still me, Douglas, and today we'll be breaking down the latest entry into The Hideaway entitled Calligraphy. This was one of those pieces where I kind of had the title stuck in my head for a bit. I had the word calligraphy stuck in my head, and I was like, I really want to do something with that. I like the word. I love calligraphy as art. It's very pretty. And so then I got to thinking, as a writer, language is used all throughout history. Tell stories, talk to each other, communicate, etc. So I really wanted to do that kind of vibe with this piece. And it's another moonbeam where it's more of a conceptual piece versus based on my life or real life. So I really like this piece. I actually, after I wrote it and then put it out, I was kind of thinking of it's kind of like the sister to Two Ways, which is the very first piece I ever put out. It's kind of the same imagery and that same kind of broken love motif. And when I put this out, I kind of described this piece as kind of remembering a long lost forgotten love that was ended in bad terms, but then it's kind of you're stuck on this loop. And that's kind of, when you look back at Two Ways, equated losing that lost kind of love as being battered over and over again by a wave. So kind of tied it in together there. So we have sister poems on this channel now. But I'll leave the link for the poem here if you guys want to go check that out before the breakdown. And then we will go ahead and start getting into it with some of my favorite lines. Again, I feel like as I continue on this channel and as I experience more things and I've refined my craft, I should say, I feel like I'm getting better with putting thoughts more cohesively together and putting through lines in pieces, and I'm just proud of myself, and that's fun to feel sometimes. All right, no more self-love, back to self-deprecating, back to self-deprecating. Let's get into our first section. So we start off with an alliteration because, hello, what else are you here on this channel for? Somber, silencing soliloquies. So we love the 3 S's. Soliloquies is one of my favorite words as well. And again, it's that when you use writing to confess something to someone, but it's somber, it's quiet, and again, we're harkening back to what I'm describing as a lost love, so I feel like that just fits the bill. An aching heartache, your chest heaves, carving promises with silver tongues. And that actually, we allude that in 2 sections. The carving promises because your chest heaves. So it's kind of when people have silver tongues, they're very quick-witted, charming, but it's can be dangerous because it's sharp edge. So carving promises with tongues, you make out with people. I think the imagery is just great there. But we reference that later, so we'll get to that when we come to that section. And then when I say wrapped up in tomorrow, I'll forget about today. So it's kind of when you're in that moment of when you have a lost love, it's you want to just move on into the future, so you don't want to think about the moment it ended. So you're in that moment where it's ending, you want to get it over with and then move on into tomorrow. But instead, we're gonna go into the past. So more through lines, it's fun. So it's very short opening. I feel like I don't normally have shorter openings. It's more again, setting the scene. So I set the scene very quickly here. Because I want to get more into the imagery and going back into the calligraphy and the hieroglyphics of that time, and I don't really know, but thought it was nice to have a short, kind of concise, almost mysterious opening, and then getting into some of the darker stuff. So it goes right into our second section. Burning my fingertips from the touch of your curves and nerves. I really wanted to get a little sensual in the writing, because again, I'm describing a long lost love. We think it's very romantic, very sexy when we think of period romance novels and that kind of thing. So I really wanted to bring in the sensuality with it. Ancient calligraphy engrained with explicit imagery. So again, tying into that sensual imagery, and also the reference to calligraphy itself, and how that was used. And again, it was almost kind of subtle, because if you don't understand like hieroglyphics and, you know, or even in calligraphy, sometimes it's hard to read, but sometimes that's on purpose. So I think it's meant to like build in that mystery. But again, if we know it's explicit imagery, it's like you can kind of pick out the pieces and be like, oh, that's what they're talking about. So it's very scandalous and sensual. Golden brushes and hues, concealing battle-bruised blues. This is actually, I take this imagery from Taylor Swift, because she, I think it started in Reputation and then went into Lover. Like, she had this imagery of like feeling so blue, but then, you know, her lover painted her skies golden instead. And so I really wanted to allude to that here, because again, golden brushes and hues, references to painting, calligraphy, art. You're welcome. Battle-bruised blues, again, physical and metaphorical bruising. So like you're imagining this lover is, you know, taking your bad and making it good again. Or is it rosé blushed memories keeping me safe? So I think it's one of those interesting things where like you can come out of like something abusive or something traumatic and then have this person that's like, you know, making your day golden instead. But are you ignoring the red flags, which is why it's rosé blushed and not red flags? Because rosé is, you know, like it's more tinted, and then I think, and obviously the rose colored glasses and those types of things. So, but it's also actually it's rose tinted. This is rosé, so alcohol, rose tinted. What I'm trying to get at is sometimes we will have an external source that blinds our better judgment. Alcohol, a person, a feeling, etc. And so you're like, this looked and sounded wonderful, but was it really? Were you just masking it all? A tattooed snake wrapped around my body like a bad omen. And so that, again, ancient, you know, imagery. If you think of the Bible, the snake that tricked Adam and Eve, obviously bad omen. And then tattooed, again, it kind of links back to like the ink writing imagery that we have here. So again, this is kind of like, this section was like supposed to introduce like the good and the bad of the relationship, because they thought it was going well, but then obviously it was all concealed darkness in the relationship. So, and then our third section will get a little bit more into like the darkness of it. And then kind of, you know, the loop that I talked about earlier with this relationship. So slithering lies and broken violin strings. So the slithering lies back to the snake, he is the bad omen. Broken violin strings. It's kind of, I think it's a double entendre, because when I think I was writing about like, you know, how you play like, oh, the world's smallest violin when you have like, you know, oh, boo-hoo problems. But it's like, these are actual real problems and you're being abused and like that kind of thing. But everyone's like, it's fine. Forgetful anniversaries and bashful villains. So again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you're thinking about all like the wrongs that this person did. So like he forgot their anniversary, and you know, he's a villain, but he's so like bashful and like sensual. So it's like, how do we draw the line here? Echoes of what was supposed to be vanished when we realized who we are. So I kind of like that line a lot. Because again, like you look forward to the future, like you can kind of see, you know, you can kind of like see a path for yourself almost. Not that that's going to be the exact path you go on, but you can kind of see this for you. But then as the truth starts to unfold in the moment, again, we tie back to that opening section, you focus on tomorrow to forget about today. Again, you were so focused on tomorrow. When you're so focused on the future, you're forgetting what's happening in the moment to you, and that can be dangerous, because again, rose-tinted glasses can be very dangerous when you're so focused on what can be versus what is going on. And then this is the part that ties back into, again, the first section. Etch-a-sketch my rib cage with your name over and over again. So when we go back to the first section, carving promises with silver tongues. It was your chest heaves, carving promises with silver tongues. And then, so I kind of wanted to allude to that just a little bit, not specifically, but you kind of get that your chest is heaving because of all the scars and like bruising you have, but it's because they etch-a-sketched their name into your ribcage. So it's like, that's why your chest was heaving in the beginning when you are thinking about remembering it. And then I think it's also fun when you think of an Etch-a-sketch. It's obviously like now in 2021, it's like that's an older toy, but like you're still referencing something a little bit more modern and into like this ancient romance. And I thought that was fun. Shake me, rattle me, reset the scene. So this alludes to the loop that it's on, this romance is on. And it's not even like maybe a specific relationship, but like how toxic relationships kind of are still happening and still continue. So, but it also again alludes to the Etch-a-sketch, how you reset it, obviously. So we're stuck on this loop. We're trying to get over it, trying to forget it, but obviously you're kind of stuck and attached to this feeling forever. Wandering without a purpose, exiled into my own dreamscape. So another allusion to Taylor Swift, obviously. I can't stop, won't stop. You know, like when you think about being exiled, it's like, I always think of the desert where it's like just a lone figure, like wandering the desert. And, you know, I feel like your own dreamscape can be like, when you can be exiled into your own mind as well, where it's like, you've gone through so much that like, you just kind of resign yourself into yourself. And so wandering without a purpose is meant to allude to like, you know, you've given so much to this one thing, and now that that's broken and done, like what else do you have to give? Obviously there's so much more, but there are, when you're in that moment, that's how it can feel sometimes. And then the ancient ruins of you and me is followed by the dreamscape line. And so I feel like now, like in this desert, you know, you have these like old monuments or old like towns even maybe of like the memories of you and this person, but now they are just nothing, or they are just forgotten ruins in the middle of a wasteland. So it's like you're stuck there. Sometimes you get stuck there emotionally. So I tried to scream using my own calligraphy this time. So it's our second use of the word calligraphy. The first time was meant to describe their relationship, but again, he had the silver tongue, so he controlled most of the narrative. So now that it's, you know, over, broken, and lost, or supposedly, this person's going to use their own calligraphy to like shape the narrative moving forward, because they're trying to get out of this exiled wasteland. But you edited and revised the script and ordered my tongue removed, which is a little confusing, I guess, metaphorically wise, because we're talking about calligraphy, writing, and you know, we had all these ink imageries, but now it's the tongue removed. And it's interesting because I'm saying you scream using your own calligraphy, so again, it's supposed to be metaphorical. It gets a little muddy with this specific imagery, but I think it's just supposed to be like you try and find your own voice in this mess. And of course, your abuser is like, just kidding, I'm in charge. It was Agatha all along. I had to do it for her. And ordered my tongue removed, complacent to you forevermore. And that was very important to end the poem like that, because again, we're stuck on this loop, and like even exiled and like you're like trying to escape, you still get drawn back into that like toxicity and like that complacency, especially, you know, if you had in like reality, if your tongue was removed, obviously you wouldn't be able to speak, and if someone's speaking for you, it's kind of like that kind of thing. But when you're into like these toxic, you know, environments around these toxic people, you do kind of feel powerless and voiceless. So it's I think it's kind of sad to end it with just like complacent to you forevermore. It's like, it's a never ending loop of being stuck in these places you don't want to be. So that was calligraphy. I do like this one. Again, it's more of a conceptual piece, and I really liked the through lines and the metaphors when it comes to actual writing and, you know, ink and like hieroglyphics, calligraphy, that kind of thing, and how you kind of weave the story using that kind of same imagery, but in like different references. So I really like this one. It's a little short, a little dark still. I mean, we keep it dark on this channel. We don't really talk about the sunshine and happiness that much. So But yeah, that was calligraphy. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of it. Am I going to get on track with the schedule anytime soon? Probably not, but that's okay. I'll be back when I'm back with a new piece, and I will leave the link back to a shout out to Wild Greens magazine. I love them so much. I do not have a piece in their March issue, but their March issue has been out for the last couple weeks, and it is themed Audacity, and it is so good, chef's kiss. I will leave a link down below for them so you guys can go check that out. But yeah, thanks again for coming to the Hideaway. We'll see you next time.